Gender Studies class. I'm Dr. Maldonado, and this week we will be examining Beyond the Mythical Norm, Considerations of Race/Ethnicity, Class, and Gender. So these questions serve as preliminary reminders of what we already covered a few weeks ago when it comes to the mythical norm, also where the mythical norm comes from, differences between bias and prejudice, and also differences between prejudice and discrimination. And lastly, differences between discrimination and oppression. Okay, so you should remember these critical concepts and principles that we examine because we'll be applying these critical concepts and principles to this week's lecture. So, just as a refresher, bias is this unfair favor for or against someone or something. And that feeds into prejudice, which is the negative attitudes about a particular individual or group of people based on bias against that individual's or group's identities. Then those negative attitudes feed into stereotypes, these made up stories, these made up scripts that encompass these overgeneralized, oversimplified beliefs about a particular group of people. And then these beliefs about particular groups of people feeds into marginalization, where you will literally other or exclude someone or a particular group from mainstream society because you believe that they're different from you or different from the norm, right? Such as the mythical norm. And remember, the mythical norm is a special term that Audre Lorde came up with that we'll go over in just a second. So, marginalization feeds into discrimination because marginalization is all about othering or excluding someone from the mainstream, and that would manifest itself within discrimination, which is this cruel, harmful, differential treatment of a particular individual or group of people based on that prejudice or negative attitudes against that individual's or group's identities. Okay, so you're treating someone differently because you have prejudice or negative attitudes about their particular identities. Now, discrimination at the institutional level, where an individual or group's freedoms and liberties are restricted due to that discrimination, is referred to as oppression. Oppression occurs and manifests itself as the taking away of people's freedoms and liberties that other folks have. Now, when you occupy an oppressed position within society or hold identities that have been traditionally and historically oppressed, you often have to work for these societal benefits. However, you're not guaranteed to receive them, right? So you can earn your PhD, you can have a high-ranking job, etc., 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 receive all of these accolades in life. However, that does not guarantee you respect. That does not guarantee that you'll get away without a speeding ticket if you are pulled over for going 80 in a 70-mile-per-hour highway lane, right? So, even though you may achieve all of these great feats and accolades, if you unfortunately, excuse me, if you hold identities that are unfortunately oppressed and marginalized within any given society, those societal benefits may not always get them. Now, privilege, on the other hand, encompasses this institutionally favored position where an individual or group receives unearned societal benefits. Okay. So people don't have to work for these benefits because they are unearned, such as being given the benefit of the doubt, being perceived as innocent, etc., etc., etc. So that's a vocabulary refresher for us for this lecture. Now, let's go into more details when it comes to privilege, oppression, and intersectionality. So, privilege, okay? Remember that privilege, groups and individuals that have privileged identities have ready access to these unearned societal benefits, such as social acceptance, ample access to opportunities and social inclusion, perpetually perceived innocence, and benefit of the doubt in dubious situations. So, for example, in comparison to women, men are often promoted at work when they start families since they are assumed to be the sole or main provider of their households. Okay, that would be an example of privilege. Whereas oppression, these groups and individuals do not have access to these unearned societal benefits and instead must work for them, right? So, an example, women earning 75 cents for every dollar that men make doing the same job. That would be oppression based upon gender, right? Because you should be paid the same for doing the same job. Okay, a woman can have more degrees, more academic degrees, more work experience. However, that does not guarantee her to have a higher income than a man. Often, a woman statistically has to earn a PhD to earn the same amount as a man who only has a bachelor's degree. Okay. All right. And now we get into intersectionality. Now, remember, intersectionality is this theory, is this methodology, is this framework that asserts that social categories such as gender, ethnicity, sexuality, and others are not experienced in isolation, but they are informed by and influence one another to create these varying and different multidimensional experiences of privilege and oppression. Okay. So, in short, people experience varied degrees of privilege and oppression differently based upon how their identities intersect. Okay, very good. So now we have different systems of oppression. Remember that ethnicism, which you know as racism, that's based upon ethnicity. Classism is based upon class. Sexism and transphobia based upon gender. Ableism based upon ability. Sexuality is based upon homophobia and heterosexism. Okay. Colorism is based upon skin color. Okay. Texturism is based upon hair texture. Xenophobia is based upon nationality, and ageism is based upon age. And there are more isms and obias. So remember, the mythical norm are these privileged identities deemed as a norm, standard, or regular, and or socially accepted. In the American context, the mythical norm includes being white, male, man-identified, heterosexual, thin or fit, able-bodied, religious, particularly Christian Catholic, middle class, Western nationality culture, and also from industrialized nations. Now, I note that this is the American context because not all nations have this same mythical norm. Depending upon whichever nation that you are analyzing, they could have their own norms that may or may not look like this American context of the mythical norm. Right? Now, remember that those with privileged identities often have embraced and unrestricted liberties and freedoms due to institutional, structural, and societal favor. In comparison, you have marginalized and or oppressed identities that are not deemed as norm, not deemed as standard, and deemed irregular. Therefore, they're not socially accepted. And with the American context, that would include folks of color, females, women identified individuals, LGBTQ plus community, disabled folks, curvy or heavy set folks, Eastern religious or non-religious folks, poor folks, Eastern nationality culture folks, and folks from non-industrialized nations. Okay. Remember, these folks often have restricted liberties and freedoms due to institutional, structural, and societal bias. Now, it's critical to note that just because you may have identities deemed marginalized, that you are guaranteed to face struggle in your life. That's not always the case. We're not saying that. Likewise, with privileged identities, just because you have privileged identities doesn't mean you are guaranteed to experience favor 100% of the time. We are saying that there are systems of privilege and oppression that operate to privilege some identities at the expense of others. These systems are always in play. However, that does not necessitate a guarantee that the folks with marginalized identities will experience marginalization, oppression on a day-to-day basis, and vice versa with those with privileged identities, not guaranteed to have these unearned benefits on a day-to-day basis, right? However, this serves as a guide or a ruling book, unfortunately, to life that definitely requires and necessitates change because we have to be able to name and acknowledge these systems in order to destabilize it, to create equal and equitable societies that will benefit everyone. Okay, that's the point. Now, remember our handy dandy map. Okay, up here we have the roots of oppression, the first three bubbles. Second layer of privilege and oppression, we have the branches of oppression. And the third layer, we have the leaves of oppression. Now, what do we talk about in week 4? It's propitious to make sure to acknowledge this system of rules and oppression as an upside down tree. Okay, we have the roots, the branches, and the leaves. The roots feed into the branches, and which feed into the leaves. So it is propitious if we even want to destabilize an entire system to not focus on the leaves because you're really cutting off the leaves. And what do leaves do when they're cut off? They grow back. Why? Because the branches are still there. So some folks may cut off the branches. What may branches do? What may branches do? They will grow back. Why? Because the roots are still there. So you have to uproot the whole system in order to replace it with a new system. Think about the analogy that I gave with a computer. You cannot have a 1994 computer, in the computer 1994 computer hardware, and attempt to install 2025 software on it. It will not work. Okay. So that is why it's critical to make sure to destabilize systems that serve to privilege some at the expense of others because that is unequal and it's not fair. Okay. You need systems where everyone can benefit. So these are a few films that I want you to watch. They are short films. Okay. It's about to play. These are short films that I want you to watch and be able to answer these questions. Okay. So, white privilege is about receiving unearned societal benefits for being white in a white supremacist society. Think about the implications of white privilege. Systemically, where one benefits and another one suffers. How does this video make you think about whiteness? In what ways may you have experienced and or witnessed white privilege? Be able to think about these questions as you watch this film. Now, I do have a worksheet that I'm going to show you in just a minute about the clips, the timing clips that you're supposed to watch, because you're not going to be assigned to watch the entire 34 minutes of this film. You're probably going to watch probably 10 minutes of the film, but I will show you the worksheet in a minute to watch. Okay, so whitewashed, this is the YouTube clip that I want you to watch for your assignments. And also, this is a clip of the Red Table Talk Show with Chelsea Handler, who discusses white privilege as a white woman. Okay. And I want you to think about these questions. What is white privilege? Okay. How does it affect your everyday life? How does white privilege produce differing constructions of reality for white folks and people of color, both within the context of the United States and globally? You're going to watch this entire clip, and it's around 10 minutes. The next clip that you're going to watch is a 3-minute clip, okay, from Dr. DeGray. Now, Dr. DeGray is an author of The Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. I highly recommend that book where she discusses white privilege as praxis and also the after effects of enslavement in Jim Crow when it comes to the Black community and also the white community. And as you're watching this clip, think about these questions. What happened in a grocery store? Have you experienced similar disparities in treatment like this before? How did her sister-in-law use her privilege to destabilize discriminatory behavior? Okay. Think about those questions as you're watching this clip. In the last clip is you're going to watch this documentary on a class divided. Okay. So a teacher teaches white students in Iowa about racism or what we call ethnicism. Okay. And think about these questions as you're watching. How did the teacher reinforce eye color hierarchies? How quickly did the students conform to this oppressive ideology? What were the differences in students' performance when they were either empowered or disempowered? And what does this teach you about lifelong implications of being taught racism/ethnicism? Okay, so she has the students reenact an oppressive ideology, an oppressive social system where students with blue eyes are deemed as superior and better and privileged, and students with brown eyes are deemed as inferior, oppressed, not privileged. And you're going to see how quickly the students conform to this oppressive ideology. And then she switches the experiment around where she has the brown-eyed students occupy the superior position, and she has the blue-eyed students occupy the inferior position. And you'll be able to see the dynamics of that. Okay, so these are 4 clips I'm going to have you watch. I'm going to exit here and maximize this PDF for you. Okay, so you are going to see this sheet right here where it lists the title of the document, how much time you are supposed to watch the document, this is the video for, and a direct link as well to the clip. Same thing here with the Chelsea Handler Red Talk Table Show and Cracking the Code by Dr. Joy DeGry, and also a class divided. Okay, you're going to watch just two separate clips of the class divided. Okay, here. So this should take you probably about an hour to watch everything, and that will encompass your assignments for this week, along with your quiz and learning assessment. So thank you so much for your time and attention, and I look forward to reading your learning assessments.